to the channel. I'm back to break down this 15-game MLB DFS slate on DraftKings and FanDuel. Before we get into the breakdown, if you do enjoy the content at any point in this video, if you could please take a moment to leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell. That way you don't miss any future content that I upload. That would be greatly appreciated. I think it's going to greatly benefit you. I'll be here all MLB DFS season long, breaking down these MLB DFS slates to help you guys become better MLB DFS players. Help you guys win some money night in and night out. Don't forget to stay tuned to the end of the video for my home run call of the day. Nailed it again last night, going with Mike Yastrzemski, hit another bomb. Love to see it. Going to love to keep those on a roll, so stay tuned to the end of the video for my home run call of the day. And if you are interested in some further content from me, getting really serious about MLB DFS, and you're really looking to profit and make some money, I would highly recommend my MLB DFS premium package. Just link below in the description. You get access to all the same tools that I use when building my own MLB DFS lineups, all of my sheets. Starting pitcher data sheet, highlighter, StatCast data, split leaderboard, my team hitting data, my bullpen data, my power rankings, and my cheat sheet. So check that out. And with that being said, let's go ahead and start breaking down this slate today. So as always, let's go ahead and start my sheet by K rate. It's Fantasy Sports. We get points for strikeouts, and the top guy on the slate today is going to be Nestor Cortes taking on the Baltimore Orioles. Whether or not he's actually going to be a viable play today comes in factor with his pitch count. Looking at his most recent performances, you can see he worked his way all the way up to 80, but he really hasn't gone too much past that. And this is strictly relating to Garrett Cole tested positive for COVID-19. So I don't tend to think that he's going to be able to stretch out much longer. And for that reason, I'm not really going to have that much interest in him. He is priced, fairly cheaply at $7K on DraftKings and over on FanDuel. As far as his price tag, he's 5.5. Maybe on FanDuel, it's a lot more interesting because he's like literally the minimum salary. So, 80 pitches could probably get it done for you over there. On DraftKings, I'm a little more hesitant. But a 30% carried against righties, a 30% carried against lefties, that's very, very good stuff. If he's going to get like 80 pitches again, that actually could be very interesting on a site like FanDuel. If there's the necessary salary that, like, if you need to spend up for bats. A lot of times on FanDuel, there's bats that are mispriced, so we could still go with a guy that's not going to be capped on his pitch count. But I'm always willing to punt guys that are minimum salaries, so that'll have a decent leash. So he could be interesting over on FanDuel specifically. Zach Wheeler is going to be the top guy on the slate, most likely here, taking on the Washington Nationals. He comes in with a 29.8% KO overall, 28.4% carried against righties, and a 31.1% carried against lefties. Guy has really, really good stuff across the board, and he's taking on a Washington Nationals team tonight that has gotten a lot weaker with the trading of Trey Turner. They've gotten rid of some other guys as well. They only have a 3.45 implied run total. Wheeler's just been absolutely dominant. He's 10-7 on FanDuel. Over on DraftKings, he's getting priced at 9.7. So he's even a friendlier price tag over on DraftKings. Last time out, 5 Ks, 3 earned runs. Not the greatest performance against the same Washington team. I'd expect that he can ramp that back up because typically speaking, he's oftentimes in the 7 to 8K range. And I think that could be the case again tonight. So Zach Wheeler, definitely a guy that you got to have interest in. Moving further along, Dylan Cease taking on the Kansas City Royals. This team that I really don't like targeting all that much just from strictly a strikeout perspective. And they did get rid of some of their heavier strikeout bats, guy like Jorge Soler and so on. So as far as the Royals and how easily they are to target right now, the bottom of the lineup is still not looking too hot. Once you get past Benintendi, 5 through 9, there's definitely some Ks to be had. And when you're looking at Dylan Cease's numbers across the board, he does have a 29.3% K rate, 14.6% swing strike rate. That tops the slate by a pretty significant margin, to be honest. A 27.4% carried against righties and a 31% carried against righties. That's pushing 30% K rate to both sides of the plate. So, the guy's got really good stuff. The Royals only have a 3.68 implied run total. He's a 207 favorite, and the more I say out loud, the more he makes sense. It's just, you got to break down the full context of the situation. He's 8.3 on FanDuel. Over on DraftKings, he is 8.4 as well. So same price range, 8.3 and 8.4, a little bit of a difference, but right around the same. He's been right around 90 to 100 pitches. Last time out, 6 Ks, 2 earned runs. The time before, 5 Ks, 3 earned runs. And I guess it's important to mention the last time was against this same Kansas City Royals team. So he's already gone out there and proven that he could do, 6+ Ks. So that's always nice to see. Dylan Cease is going to be viable today. We have Tyler Mahle taking on the Minnesota Twins, 28.2% K overall, 12.2 swinging strike rate, 25% carried against righties, and a 31.8% carried against lefties. So he actually is a lot better in the strikeout category against left-handed hitting. So we do prefer to target him against those left-handed heavy lineups if at possible with some K-heavy guys. And when you're looking at the Minnesota Twins lineup up and down, we can see that they do have a decent amount of lefties. It's a little bit more of a blend though. There's also a decent amount of righties in there, but some guys with some pretty heavy K rates, Mitch Garver, Miguel Sano, etc. throughout the order, Brent Rooker, And Miley is a 133 favorite. So another guy in the mid-range you could be looking to today. Not nearly as good of numbers as like Dylan Cease and Zach Wheeler, but still pretty dang good, to be honest with you. Lance McCullers Jr. taking on the Dodgers. The Dodgers just really aren't a team I like to target. Honestly, I just don't see the sense in having to go to him on a slate that's 15 games. It just doesn't seem all too necessary. We have Blake Snell taking on the Oakland Athletics, another guy that I'm not too sure I'm that high on, because while he has been still showing a high K rate against righties, the K rate is really dipping. It's against lefties that he's really getting all these strikeout rates. He's inflating his strikeout rate, and against the righties, it's really not looking too hot. And then when you look at the Oakland Athletics lineup up and down, they are pretty well designed to take on left-handed pitching, and honestly, they've gotten even better as far as being able to go right-handed heavy, because now they have Yan Gomes in the lineup, Josh Harrison in the lineup. These are additions along with Starling Marte that allow them to go even more right-handed heavy lineup. However, it is in Oakland. That's a great pitcher's ballpark. That's a big upgrade for Blake Snell as far as pitching ballpark. Not that San Diego is the worst, but I mean, Oakland's definitely ideal when it comes to pitching. So Blake Snell is a high-risk, high-upside option if you want to go there. I don't hate it. We have Sean Manaea taking on the San Diego Padres, another guy that I just really don't want to target against an offense that really doesn't strike out a lot. I'm sorry. I mean, maybe I end up landing on him in some lineups because he's just like a good talent, but I just don't think it's necessary to go there when we have these other guys taking on lineups that strike out a lot more, such as a Yusei Kikuchi taking on the Tampa Bay Rays tonight. The Rays have been struggling against left-handed pitching all season long. They have made some moves to help them on that forefront, but still, 13.4% swinging strike rate, 26.7% K rate overall, 24.7% K rate against righties, and a 34.4% K rate against lefties. Similar to Blake Snell in the sense that his K rate is pretty respectable, but a lot of that has been done against left-handed hitting, and for that reason, I guess you could be a little bit scared here. But then when you're factoring in that it's in Tampa Bay in the Trop, I think that Kikuchi definitely could go out there and get the job done. When you have guys like Nelson Cruz in the lineup now and Wander Franco, it's not going to be quite as easy as it was earlier in the season, but I still think there's a bunch of strikeouts to be had here. Could Kikuchi go out there and get blown up? Absolutely. I mean, they have close to a 5 implied run total, but I also think that he can go out there and get you a bunch of strikeouts, a bunch of pitches, and a good outing. So it's going to go one way or the other, obviously. You've got to decide which side of the fence you're on as far as Kikuchi and Snell. But, I think you'd be crazy if you were saying that they weren't viable. And then we have Luis Patino in the same game, 26.7% K overall, 31.5% K rate against righties, and only a 16.5% or 16.3% K rate against lefties. Has done a good job of not giving up a lot of slugging to lefties, but the strikeout rate really dips. Really reliant on facing some right-handed heavy lineups, and the Mariners are definitely not that lineup any longer. They have a lot of lefties going in there, so Patino for me is like I'm not going to even really entertain that idea. Kenta Maeda taking on the Cincinnati Reds could be an interesting option. We have Walker Buehler, another great pitcher, but he's taking on the Houston Astros, similar to the Padres and Sean Manaea. Like, those two teams are teams I just don't like targeting because they really don't strike out a lot. So it's kind of tough for me to be giving you the green light on that. When we have other guys like Zach Wheeler on the slate that we already talked about, we talked about some other wild card plays. Honestly, Ryu's a guy that we haven't even talked about yet that we're going to continue to get to. We have some other matchups that are good. But Maeda is one of them, a 24.3% K rate against righties, a 24.9% K rate against lefties. He's pretty decent K stuff across the board, and he's taking on a Cincinnati Reds team tonight that we can definitely target. They definitely have some guys in their lineup that can slug, but they definitely have some strikeouts as well. And another team with a 4.74 implied run total. They're pretty up there in run total, but the strikeout upside's there, and I think you can definitely target him for sure. And then as we continue to move along, Colin Walker taking on the Miami Marlins. This is a guy, like, perfect example right now, right? We're taking a huge dip from him to a guy like a Blake Snell, let's say, in K rate, because Blake Snell has a 27.3% K rate, but it's a much better matchup for him. It's a much better, well, I shouldn't say much better because I already mentioned that Blake Snell's in a friendly pitching environment, but Miami's like the best of the best as far as I'm concerned. The Marlins have been striking out a bunch. Their lineup has gotten even terrible. Tyler Megill was a bit of a letdown last night. I was pretty heavy on him as well, but I think we can go right back to the well tonight. A 23.7% K overall, 9.1 swing strike rate, 21.3% K rate against righties, and a 26.5% K rate against lefties. When you're looking at those numbers across the board, they're not going to blow you away. But then when you're looking at the matchup will blow you away because this lineup up and down is just not good. Walker, his last 3 outings, has had 5, 6, and 5 earned runs. He has not looked good at Atlanta, Toronto, and Pittsburgh. But I think this is a good get-right spot. Hopefully his recent struggles are going to limit his ownership, because 7-4 on FanDuel is way too cheap for the matchup. And then when you're going to DraftKings, 8-5 is still a viable play for me as well. I mean, the lineup is just that bad, guys. You got to target this Miami Marlins lineup for sure, so I definitely like them. Bumgarner taking on the San Francisco Giants he's just not been good. Honestly, I'm not really getting that excited. We have Jose Suarez taking on the Texas Rangers. They're a team that has a much more watered down lineup now. This guy's numbers really aren't that great across the board, but if it's a guy that's going to go out there and get some pitches, could be an interesting option. As far as his pitch leash, though, he's been right around like 80 pitches, so it's going to be kind of tough again. I have a really hard time playing guys that are limited on pitch count on a slate this big. Like I had mentioned Nestor Cortez on FanDuel because he's strictly because he's like minimum salary. That makes a lot more sense, but I'm gonna have a hard time going a guy like him on a slate that's so big. We had mentioned Ryu taking on the Cleveland Indians. I think this is a great matchup again. Another lineup that's been striking out a bunch. Ryu's numbers across the board really haven't been that great on the K categories, but he's always done a good job of keeping the ball on the ground, controlling the game, being a good real-life pitcher, and I think that could be enough to get the job done in this one. The Indians only have a 3.63 implied run total. Once again, a bunch of strikeouts to be had. Ryu comes in at 9.3 on FanDuel. Over on DraftKings, they have him priced at 8.7. And we're looking at his recent performances. You can see 5, 4, 4 Ks with 0, 3, and 0 earned runs. He's been right around 80 pitches, unfortunately, so he's not really getting up there in pitch count, but that might be enough in this matchup. I mean, the Indians just really haven't been good. We need Ryu to get through the 5 innings to get the win. Expect him to get some run support from this Toronto Blue Jays offense. That's always good to see. So, he could be in line for hopefully 6 innings on FanDuel. We get that quality start on DraftKings, that 5-inning performance with some solid strikeout stuff in the win. And that might be enough compared to some other guys that are in difficult matchups like a Blake Snell, et cetera, that we talked about. If Blake Snell and those guys perform well, you're not looking too good. If they don't, Ryu could be a great solution to that issue. So, with that being said, honestly, once we get past that, things go downhill really quickly. There's some guys that you can get sneaky with in tournaments, as always. All depends who you ask, but things get pretty ugly pretty quick. So let's go ahead and transition over to bats. As always, let's go ahead and sort my sheet by Sierra, skill interactive ERA. It's a good way of determining how good a pitcher's been so far in the season and how good he's expected to be in the future. And the worst on the slate today is Alex Wells. Taking on the New York Yankees. Comes in with a terrible K rate, terrible ground ball fly ball stuff, terrible hard contact rate, a 548 slugging unit to righties, and a 300 slugging unit to lefties. Actually has been pretty good against lefties, which of course the Yankees did just become a little bit more left-handed heavy lineup with the acquisition of Joey Gallo and Anthony Rizzo, so that's a little bit unfortunate as far as the full stack. But with that being said, the goal, if you're stacking a team, is to get the starting pitcher out of the game early. Obviously we want the Yankees to get the Alexander Wells out of the game early. If we're stacking them, then they bring in that terrible Baltimore Orioles bullpen, and we're looking pretty good. So DJ LeMahieu, Aaron Judge, Giancarlo Stanton, Gary Sanchez, Gleyber Torres going to be great options as far as against Wells. And then if they can get him out of the game early, Gallo and Rizzo to round out your stacks, no issues with going to them. Just know that Wells has been a lot better against lefties. He's still getting up a 61.5% hard contact rate, though. That is not good. So I think you can stack this Yankees lineup up for sure tonight. Going to be in a good spot. Both the starting pitcher and the bullpen not scaring us. Zach Davies taking on the Colorado Rockies. His ground ball fly ball stuff's been terrible. A 405 slugging unit to righties and a 405 slugging unit to lefties. Hasn't been too terrible as far as hard contact compared to a guy like Wells that we just talked about against righties. So if that makes you feel any better about not playing bats against him, but it's in Coors Field. That's going to be less than ideal for a guy that really doesn't strike anyone out and doesn't do the best job of limiting hard contact. Even though it's not the worst in the world, still going to have interest in this Rockies offense up and down. Not the most talented lineup, but you got to have interest with the friendly confines, etc. So Charlie Blackmon, Brendan Rodgers, Trevor Story, Ryan McMahon, CJ Cron, Sam Hilliard, Connor Joe, Dom Nunez. Can stack them up. No issues with that. We have John Lester taking on the Atlanta Braves, a guy that's very easy to break down. Just target him with right-handed power. A 552 slugging unit to righties with a 395 WOBA this year. That's not going to get the job done. Only a 13% K rate, so pretty much anytime you get a lineup with a lot of righties that can mash, you're going to have interest in targeting him. The problem is it's in St. Louis. I really don't like playing bats here. But if I was ever going to, it would be the right-handed power bats against John Lester. So Ozzie Albies, Jorge Soler, Austin Riley, Dansby Swanson, Adam Duvall, Heredia, Kevin Smith. The addition of Duvall and Jorge Soler is going to make this lineup a lot more dangerous against left-handed pitching. So I actually like it a lot more than I would before those acquisitions. Only downside at the ballpark, which really stinks, but it could definitely be a good long stack if they're not getting attention. No issues. Willie Peralta taking on the Boston Red Sox. We have him and then the terrible Detroit Tigers bullpen. This guy's been pretty decent against righties overall compared to what he has been in the past. Against lefties, he's always struggled, still giving up a 447 slugging with a 46% hard contact rate against those lefties this year. A guy that's just been not good for a long time, and the Red Sox lineup is good. So up and down, I think that this stack's going to make a lot of sense. 77 degrees in Detroit. As mentioned, the Detroit bullpen's bad. Peralta priced all the way up to 7.5 on FanDuel now. As far as DraftKings, they still haven't priced all the way down to 4.9. FanDuel giving him a lot more respect than DraftKings is. Last 2 outings, he's had 6 earned runs and 5 earned runs. So, I mean, if that's an improvement, you're still bad. So, yeah, the Red Sox offense makes a lot of sense to me. They're on the road. They get that guaranteed 9th inning at bat. Enrique Hernandez, Jared Duran, Xander Bogaerts. Of course, those lefties I mentioned are going to be my favorites. So, Rafael Devers, Alex Verdugo in the center of the order are going to make a lot of sense. Duran, I had already mentioned. Hunter Renfroe, Franchi Cordero, Christian Vasquez. It's going to be a great stack today. No issues with it going to the Red Sox stack. In the same game, Garrett Richards, a guy that's giving up a bunch of hard contact as well. Both sides of the plate, specifically against righties, he's been a lot worse. A 528 slugging given up to those righties, 395 WOBA. That's not good. Against lefties, it's a 451 slugging. Ground ball, fly ball stuff's been a lot better against those lefties. So, you know, the Detroit Tigers righties would be preferred. However, I don't think Richards has been that great overall. So, I would have no issues with stacking either side. I mean, Miguel Cabrera, Eric Haase, and Jonathan Scope stick out as top plays because they are right-handed hitters with some power, so keep that in mind. But Akil Baddoo, Robbie Grossman, Jaime Candelario, Hero Castro, Willie Castro, no issues if you go to them either. Can definitely be stacking them up. Chris Bubik taking on the Chicago White Sox, a team that I've loved targeting against left-handed pitching all season long. He gives up a 456 slugging to the righties, a 556 slugging to lefties. Just really hasn't been that good, and the Chicago White Sox lineup is one that's designed to mash left-handed pitching, so I always like targeting them. Tim Anderson, Cesar Hernandez, Jose Abreu, Yon Moncada, Andrew Vaughn, Adam Engel, Brian Goodwin, Larry Garcia. Dealing with a little bit of injuries that are making some of those guys that I really like targeting not in the lineup right now, so not quite as interested as I would like to be, but Jose Abreu, Andrew Vaughn in the middle of the order, Tim Anderson at the top of the order, Adam Engel, Larry Garcia, all guys that rake left-handed pitching at a very effective rate. Jordan Lyles taking on the Los Angeles Angels, another guy that's been terrible. Ground ball, fly ball stuff is bad. A 545 slugging into righties, a 432 slugging into lefties. Honestly, he doesn't really have much to offer on the positive side, and the Angels stack makes a ton of sense tonight. Looking at their matchup here, it's in Texas, great ballpark. They're on the road. David Fletcher, Shohei Ohtani, Justin Upton, Max Stassi, Phil Gosselin, Brandon Marsh, Jose Iglesias, Adam Eaton, Jack Mayfield, 1 through 9. No issues stacking them. Not scared of Lyles, not scared of the bullpen. I think it's going to be a great spot for them, so definitely looking to load up on them. Philadelphia taking on Patrick Corbin's a guy that you can target with right-handed power. Against lefties, he has still been effective, but against righties, he's given up a 530 slugging, 379 WOBA. Not going to get the job done, so Philadelphia power righties you got to have interest in tonight, and we're looking at who they're expected to roll out. We have Gene Segura, Rhys Hoskins, JT Realmuto, Alec Boehm, Ronald Torreyes, Luke Williams. All those righties going to like them. And Bryce Harper is traditionally very good against lefties. So while Corbin's very good against lefties, I think Bryce could definitely break through to him. Maybe have him in your stacks. Other guys don't. You get a little bit of a lower-owned player. That's a stud. Wouldn't hurt your feelings, of course. Kyle Freeland taking on the Chicago Cubs. It's in Coors Field. The Cubs don't have quite as good of a lineup as they did before, but Freeland's numbers have been absolutely dreadful against right-handed hitting. A 506 slugging, giving up 38.2% hard contact rate, a 365 WOBA. Not good numbers, and we're looking at the Chicago Cubs lineup. I still think that they have a pretty respectable lineup against left-handed pitching. Wilson Contreras, very good against lefties. David Bodie, good against lefties. Patrick Wisdom, good against lefties. Matt Duffy, good against lefties. Sergio Alcantara, I mean, up and down. I don't think that we have any issues with stacking them up. I mean, once again, clearly not as good of a lineup as they were, but it's in Coors Field. It's a friendly hitting environment, and they do have some guys that are pretty good against lefties, and the Colorado Rockies bullpen is terrible. So while the Cubs lineup might not be the best in the world, the matchup is very similar. So Max Kranick taking on the Milwaukee Brewers. He hasn't been good across the board. A 455 slugging up to righties, a 457 slugging up to lefties. The Milwaukee Brewers lineup has been pretty hot as of late. They do have a 5.55 implied run total, and Kranick's definitely a guy that we don't have an issue with targeting. We don't have an issue with targeting the Pittsburgh Pirates bullpen. Colton Wong, Willie Adames, Omar Narvaez, Eduardo Escobar, Avisail Garcia, Rowdy Tellez, Tyrone Taylor, Jackie Bradley. Love every single guy in the lineup, to be frank, outside of Jackie Bradley Jr., and even with him being in the 8th spot in Milwaukee, friendly down the right field line, he could even get into one and hit a bomb. So I have interest in the Milwaukee lineup for sure. Braxton Garrett taking on the New York Mets is a guy that typically we would have no issues targeting. The problem is it's in Miami, so my interest is going to be a little bit limited. Right-handed power is really where it gets him, so the Mets righties you could definitely be looking to today, but just keep in mind it's not quite as friendly. So Pilar, Pete Alonso, Javier Baez, J.D. Davis, James McCann. You can mix in Dom Smith, Jeff McNeil if you want, but it's a lefty. We really like to target those righties. So, and yeah. So if they can get it out of the Miami ballpark, no issues with that. Blake Snell taking on Oakland. We had mentioned it's in Oakland. Not the best hitting environment, but he's been giving up a ton of slugging to righties. If you want to stack up the Oakland Athletics righties, wouldn't call you crazy. Their lineup looks better than ever now with Mark Canha at the top, Starling Marte, Jed Lowry, Ramon Laureano, Yan Gomes, Josh Harrison, Matt Chapman, Elvis Andrews. Definitely in good spots tonight. Zach Plesac taking on the Toronto Blue Jays is a guy that's actually been pretty good at the ground ball, fly ball stuff. So I'm not getting all too interested to target the Toronto Blue Jays offense. They're always a target. They're always an offense that you can target, but I think that they may not score their runs in their traditional bunch of home runs fashion tonight. Once I dig into the pitch data, I might change my mind on that. But that's about the only thing that could sway me because at first glance, I mean, I like to target guys that give up a lot of hard contact, a lot of fly balls, and that's just not the case with him. And as we continue along the slate, things get a lot less interesting. Madison Bumgarner, we had mentioned, targeting him across the board. Ground ball, fly ball stuff's terrible. Hard contact stuff's terrible. Against righties, against lefties, really doesn't matter. He's been pretty terrible against both sides. So we're looking at the San Francisco Giants offense tonight. They do have a 5.27 implied run total. Austin Slater, Chris Bryant's going to be a great addition against lefties. Darren Ruff mashes lefties. Donovan Solano, Tyro Estrada, Kirk Solly mashes lefties for a catcher. And then, of course, you do have Brandon Crawford, Mike Yastrzemski in the lineup as well. The only downside to stacking this offense is the second they pull Madison Bumgarner, if a righty comes in the game, there's a lot of pinch hit risk going on throughout this San Francisco Giants lineup if this is the one that they do indeed decide to roll out. If they go with some more lefties to begin things, it could be a little bit more comfortable stacking lefty on lefty. Maybe not the most ideal matchup for you, but maybe that lowers the ownership, and then you're way ahead of the field. So don't hate that. And then, as we go along here, that's pretty much my overall interest. Johnny Cueto is a guy in the same game that doesn't really scare us too much. A 431 slugging game with the righties, a 491 slugging game with the lefties. Specifically against left-handed hitting, he hasn't been very effective. So the Arizona Diamondbacks could definitely make some sense. Cole Calhoun, Ketel Marte, Asdrubal Cabrera, David Peralta, Josh Van Meter, Dalton Varsho, they actually are pretty left-handed heavy. So you could be looking to target him. You could be looking to target Tyler Mahle with some right-handed power, and you could be looking to target Kikuchi with some right-handed power. So the Minnesota righties and the Tampa Bay Rays righties, if you want to go there. But yeah, that is my overall breakdown of this massive slate. Lots to go over, but hopefully that was very helpful. Got definitely into some good details, I think. So with that being said, let's go ahead and give you guys my home run call of the day. Let's get into it. And my home run call of the day today is going to be Aaron Judge taking on Alex Wells. We mentioned his contact issues against right-handed hitting. Really hard to ignore here, guys. These are dreadful numbers. A 10% K rate against righties, 548 slugging given up, 49.5% hard contact rate, a 396 WOBA. Not going to get the job done in Yankee Stadium. Great hitting environment for Judge tonight. And then when you factor in the repertoire that Wells is reliant on, we're not scared either. Very soft curling fastball thrower, mixes in the curveball changeup combination against those righties. Only about an 88 average mile-an-hour fastball. That's not going to overpower anyone. And as far as Aaron Judge fares against the fastball off left-handed pitching, he has a 377 ISO with a 460 WOBA. The changeup's not an issue either. When breaking down that, Judge features a 357 WOBA, and as far as the curveball, absolutely mashes as well. A 267 ISO with a 435 WOBA. Not scared of the Baltimore Orioles bullpen. I think this is going to be a great overall performance out of Aaron Judge. Potential for 2 home runs. Get him in your lineups because he is my home run call of the day. So there you have it, guys. Aaron Judge. Get him in your lineups. And that is all from me in this one. If you did enjoy the content, if you could please give a like on this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell. That would be greatly appreciated. Wish you guys all the best of luck tonight, and we will see you in the next one.